James Gunn has had a fascinating and strange career. Originally a writer for gross-out studio Troma, then, sandwiched between two kid-friendly Scooby Doo films, he wrote a zombie film for his arch-nemesis, Zack Snyder. A wild combo of films. Truly a George Miller-esque, duality of man type filmography. He then did two low-budget films to kick off his directing before shedding his young man edgelord skin and cemented himself as the king of weirdo superheroes, found family, and being on social media way too much for a man in his 50s. The Guardians of the Galaxy have made James Gunn a household name amongst nerds. And now as he steps into the head role of the new DCU, and with Superman just around the corner, I thought what better time to look through James Gunn's filmography and do what YouTubers do best, list and rank somebody's art. Worst to best. Number 6. Slither. Slither is James Gunn's first film and his only non-superhero film. It's in a genre I absolutely love, in body horror, but despite the genre, the cast, and the director, this film doesn't do much for me, unfortunately. The premise is very generic, but that's not necessarily an issue. The issue is in the execution and the script. This film is at its best when it's doing weird, unique, and quite frankly, disgusting and grotesque things with this premise. But a lot of the film is strangely dull and by the numbers. Nathan Fillion and Elizabeth Banks are two of the most charming, likable guys you'll find in Hollywood, yet they're given almost nothing to work with. The script is bare bones, but even those bones are brittle and they wouldn't even please a hungry dog. The humor for this horror comedy is pretty light, sometimes half offering a chuckle, but other times barely registering a smile. And I'm not even necessarily saying that the film is very unfunny when it's trying to be funny. I just found that there wasn't that many moments that were even trying to be funny. Most of the humor is derived from a really gross thing happening, and then it pans across to a guy and he's like, "Whoa, that's pretty gross, man!" With so few laughs or fun, the film really needed to lean more into the horror, which outside of the gross out disgust is non-existent. It's not scary in any way whatsoever. But it mostly makes up for that with its absolutely fantastic and truly horrendously disgusting effects. At times, this film is fucking gross to look at, and personally, I respect the hell out of that. But I just wish I cared about anyone in this film. It baffles me that the man who so easily and confidently made me fall in love with a tree and a talking gun-loving raccoon could make me feel nothing for Nathan Fillion and Elizabeth Banks. Also, the plot is pretty much one big monster wants to infect everyone with little monsters by getting in their mouths and connecting them to the hive mind. Most people think James Gunn's only got one trick up his sleeve, but in fact, he's got two tricks up his sleeve. Guess we know how the new Justice League film is going to go. Number 5. Budget Kick-Ass. I've always compared this film to Kick-Ass, home brand Kick-Ass, budget Kick-Ass. It's like Kick-Ass, but not as good in every single way. That's how I used to feel. And now having watched it as an adult man, I feel exactly the same way. But one thing I didn't know is that this came out the same year as Kick-Ass. I genuinely can't believe that. It's crazy. Why isn't this talked about in the same vein as Dante's Peak / Volcano or Armageddon / Deep Impact? I think mostly because people have forgot this exists. Why? Because it's kinda crap. I don't know, man. There's some real try-hard, edgelord humor stuff in this that I just did not vibe with at all. There's some really dated stuff that's just not that funny, and it really drowns out all the stuff that really works. When I think of Gunn, I think of morally complex superheroes, and that DNA is all over this film. Yet the other thing I think about with him is that charm and that likability and that making me like unlikable characters. And yet in this film, he's just unlikable. There's not a single second in this movie where I'm on his side. I don't know, I think the tone is all over the place. The strange religious angle does not work for me. And whilst the performance of that guy from The Office, he is good. He's doing the weirdo thing. And whilst it is interesting and fascinating on some level as a character study of this psychopath going insane and using heroism to kind of mask his insanity, Some of that stuff is good, but the biggest issue for me really is the try-hard edgelord humor and a really gross flip-floppy tone and stance on rape. It's really, really strange, and this film has aged like milk. Overall, there's some great shocking moments of violence, and some of the character work is very interesting, but generally speaking, I do not vibe this film at all. And I don't know, it's just kind of a mess. I legitimately can't believe Marvel saw this film, then gave this guy Guardians of the Galaxy. This film to that trilogy is the biggest glow up in cinema history. Number 4.5. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas Special. As the biggest Grinch I know, I think it says a lot when I say this special has that Christmas magic. A wholesome, charming, very silly, very funny, light little adventure with characters I absolutely love in a world I absolutely love. This feels like something that would usually be relegated to a tie-in comic or a joke in an interview with the director or an episode of a TV show based on the movies that plays on Saturday morning cartoon shows. But for some insane reason, they let Gunn just actually make it with the cast and the sets and the CGI creatures. It's crazy to me that this exists. It's just pure Christmas cheese. Did this need to be made? Probably not, but fuck, I'm glad they did. Also, the idea is just pure insanity. Kevin Bacon is hilarious, and I absolutely love that Peter Quill is just like, wait, what is happening? This is a kidnapping. Amazing stuff. I bloody love it. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Whilst this is the weakest of the trilogy, I love this film, and I think it is kind of underrated. Packed with heart, great character moments, and some utterly gorgeous and insanely fun and colourful visuals that once again remind me how much I love the magical insanity of space in the MCU. I'm a massive fan of sequels that embrace the team just being a team and just hanging out. Whilst origins and meetings and setup is fun and cool and all that jazz, when a sequel just doesn't have to deal with any of that baggage or time of doing any of that stuff, it can just start and be like, they're all best friends, they're all hanging out, and they're all just doing a mission together. And hot damn, does this film do that. Hot take, whilst it's not as good, I'll probably watch Ultron over original recipe Avengers any day of the week. And I almost feel the same about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But there is one thing in this film that is better than Volume 1 or Volume 3. And it's so good, it makes me wish some couple other elements in this film worked even better, because then this would easily be my favorite. And that is Baby Groot. Real babies? I don't know, man. They're fine, I guess. But a green alien baby? Maybe the greatest thing ever. His little cute dance at the start as the Guardians fight a giant rainbow space Kraken is maybe my favorite scene in the entire MCU. So cute, funny, and just an inspired and unique way to show us the giant monster fight, whilst highlighting how the Guardians have now come together as a family, but also as co-parents to Baby Groot. Yondu and Rocket's team up is the next highlight of the film, with some of the most surprising little bits of heart that just sneak right up on you. I love that this film isn't afraid to make its characters absolute a-holes. Rocket is a prick for most of the film, and that's cool. The main issue, like Volume 1, is the villain is kinda underwhelming. Whilst more emotional than Ronan, it's still a little light on story. His planet is nice and cool, but clearly it's too good to be true, and then, yeah, it is. I think Kurt Russell's charm and sex appeal is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. He is a pretty standard by-the-numbers villain, and if it wasn't for that beautiful, gorgeous beard he was rocking, I don't know, I think we would consider him pretty similar to Malkeith. Whilst in some ways it is a cut above being Peter's father, his motivation to just very generic villain, destroy the universe, for reasons or whatever. Just like Volume 1, the big CGI battle at the end doesn't feel like a mess of nothing CGI, just whatever the hell, due to little bits of genius humor and heart creatively sprinkled throughout. And the color palette is using literally every color you have ever seen, but like not merging it all together into some ugly brown nothing. So it is just delightful to experience and sit back and just watch the crazy madness unfold, even if at times it is a whole bunch of CGI whatever. This film reinforces and strengthens the same emotions and themes Volume 1 introduces to us, even if it is slightly less of a perfect and complete package. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. Revisiting this film was a magical experience. I had forgotten how much fun this film is. Now, I would never shame anyone for attending one of these, but I have never understood sing-along cinema screenings. That being said, this film would go off. As soon as the serious Indiana Jones, but in space, opening turns into a fun one-man karaoke night, I lose my mind and I never get it back. The film just takes me to this insane, magical, glorious place, and it is just utterly delightful in a way where I almost can't articulate it into words. But since that is literally the only thing I need to do for this video, I will try. The unique joy and vibes of this film is unparalleled to not only the MCU, but to any kind of space sci-fi fun action adventure romp. It is like, what if Star Wars, but way more colorful and insane and batshit fucking crazy. The world building for our first venture into space for the MCU is gorgeous and grand, and I feel like we get this fascinating glimpse. There's like a little peek behind the curtain, like there feels like there's so much more to explore, but we see just enough to know that space in the MCU is fucking insane. Wacky characters everywhere and a cast of impossibly fun and wacky weirdos. The art of an ensemble film is such a fine balancing act. Every character needs their own moments of heart, humor, and action, but the team as a whole also needs the same amount of work. And weaving that all into one story that flows and has the correct pace and structure is such a daunting task. Yet when you watch this film, and again in The Suicide Squad, Gunn delivers literally everything with such ease and confidence. It makes it look easy, which it is not. Or maybe it is. Maybe Gunn's a hack and I've lost my mind. But I don't know, man. I just don't think that many people can make me care the way he made me care about a talking magical tree and his friend the raccoon who loves to kill people with guns. I just fall so instantly in love with these characters and this vibe in this universe, and it's just astonishing. I know for most people, Chris Pratt's star has not only faded, but is dead. But I still love him as the leading man, and Star-Lord is easily his best work. Charming, funny, and roguish, but of course, with a heart of gold. I think Gunn has really figured out how to balance his super gross out and perverse sense of humor, but kind of dial it in. I don't know, maybe he's aging into a better subtle use of his gross out humor, or maybe it was Kevin Feige telling him to tone it right down. But regardless of why he did it, I much prefer the kind of subtler Jackson Pollock painting cum jokes instead of the cum on your face jokes that were in Super. Number 2, The Suicide Squad. Turns out Justin Timberlake was incorrect. The is very important. The jump in quality in every conceivable way from Suicide Squad to The Suicide Squad is so shocking and insane, I genuinely can't believe it. Is this film that good? Or is that first one just that bad? Both. Gunn at this stage has mastered the ragtag group of likable freaks who are forced to work together for the greater good. This time with a step, or 10, further into the villain side of morality than the Guardians. Everyone on this team is such a strange, unique, absolute psycho, and I love them. I think this film cleverly sidesteps being too mean-spirited or evil by being so outlandishly colourful and cartoonish at times, while still being very insane, intense, and gory. Sure, an innocent man dying is bad, but if he's eaten by a walking, talking shark, less bad. Kinda awesome. I also think it helps that this film is fucking funny. I think the highlight is probably John Cena and Idris Elba having a massive kind of like cock-off, if you will, where they're just doing cool shooting situations as they brutally and insanely murder everybody, and then right at the end it's revealed that those were like good guy rebels. Just utterly delightful, horrific brutality. Very, very funny in the best dark humor type way, but it's just so much funnier than his early film Super, which I feel like was trying to do similar kind of stuff, but it just like didn't land for me whatsoever. And I don't know, maybe it's because in this one there's a polka dot man and there's a king shark. I'm going to be honest, if King Shark wasn't in this, I have no idea what I'd think about this movie. Harley Quinn is so close to being intolerable and unwatchable in every single live action media she is in, but in this film, she's used brilliantly and makes me actually like her as a character. John Cena is a standout, somehow going toe-to-toe with Idris Elba, who has been elite for like several decades in cinema. I don't know how John Cena's looking like almost as good an actor as him. It's crazy. Weasel is also there, and that is just, yeah, I don't know what to say. He's fucking crazy. I swear he's in the movie for like half the movie, but he's only in it for like 5 minutes. But oh boy, does he leave an impression in my mind. Those eyeballs just poking out and just, I don't know, waving about and being all freakish. It's truly delightful. Yeah. I don't know how he makes me love Weasel, even though they do tell me in the film he's killed 27 children. Polka Dot Man is gross and creepy, but his line delivery is just on the line where it's hilarious and not upsetting, but kind of tragic, and like you kind of like feel quite empathetic towards him. Honestly, I could just list every character and how this film gets who they are and what they are and just nails them. And I will. Amanda Waller, finally, the actual villain. Javelin. Has a javelin. James Gunn just gets it. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Maybe I've watched too many X-Men films, but the idea of a third and final film in a trilogy being the best just feels wrong. This film is such a devastating and powerfully emotional final act of the franchise. Rocket's backstory is deeply tragic and heartbreaking, yet wonderfully recontextualizes almost every single line of dialogue he says in the previous 2 films. I genuinely couldn't believe how much was seeded in the previous 2 films on the rewatch with the context of Volume 3. Every single line, it's like he knew exactly what flashback story he was going to eventually tell us, and it just makes the trilogy feel so much richer for it. Everything is filled with such intent and such purpose, and it is so well executed. Everything ties together in such a beautiful, complex, rich way. It makes me so happy to think about. I can't believe he just thought about it, and then after thinking about it, executed what he thought about. Swole Groot is awesome, and I apologize for ever thinking he looked weird. Maybe the biggest step up for this film compared to the other 2 is the villain. A monster of a man, compelling and disgusting. And over the film, you completely understand his motivations, but not in that classic kind of sympathetic, empathetic way, more in a way where you're like, fuck, I hate this guy even more now. That was crazy because I never liked him. I always hated him. But now I know more about him. I actually hate him way more. But he's still a complex, interesting, layered character. This film is grotesque and sad and awfully mean at times in a way that I found distressing and shocking. Not just for an MCU film, but for a film. Mutated animal cyborg monsters and genocide? This film was not holding its punches. This film throws a lot at you, but somehow still manages at times to be fun and charming and classic Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. But that being said, this is the most somber of the 3. The most dense emotionally and thematically. And it nails the thing that is most important for a final film in a series. It nails the ending. Take a shot for every single time you heard the week of this film's release, this film was an emotionally satisfying conclusion. But let's be real, this film is an emotionally satisfying conclusion to the franchise. This film is easily my favorite of the franchise and easily James Gunn's best film. For 1 more week, until Superman comes out. Cause Superman's gonna be good. Right? Right, guys? Oh my god, if Superman is bad, I'll never be happy again. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I would love to know what's your ranking for James Gunn's filmography.